Well, it can be awkward to talk about things like drug or alcohol abuse with your college-bound students. But as they face their new independence, it's more important than ever. I'd like to welcome David Arnold from the Coalition of Colorado Campus of Alcohol and Drug Administrators. Good to see you.
Great to see you too, Denise. Thank you.
This is such an, I'm a mom of an 18-year-old and a soon-to-be 16-year-old. And I know when they're school age, you want to talk to them and you want to have that conversation. But it's like, why when they're going to college? We already had that conversation. Why should we do it again?
Right, and this might be hard to believe, especially as a mother to two teenage boys, but our research shows that folks are really likely to listen to their parents about issues like drugs or alcohol. And as folks go into the college environment, that conversation with parents is more important than ever because it's going to change the way that they look at the decisions they make and the behaviors that they'll end up choosing.
And your organization, which is CADE, and we'll talk about that acronym in a second, but you recently released some data that showed that teens and college-bound students are using marijuana at a higher rate.
Yeah. So the great news, let's start with the good news, is that for K through 12 students, for students who are under the age of 18, cannabis use hasn't really changed post-legalization. That's really good news. It's good news for your boys.
Yes.
It's good news for kids across the state of Colorado. College students end up looking a little bit different than that. And so one of the things that causes our organization the most concern is that daily and near daily use of cannabis has almost doubled or tripled the national average for college students. And so we're really interested in making sure that those students are set up to succeed. And that level of cannabis use doesn't really align with academic success.
Obviously, yeah. And one of the most obvious things here, too, in Colorado is that it's legal. So why is it, besides that, higher here in Colorado for teen and college-bound students?
Yeah, so legalization has something to do with it because obviously it's more accessible. It's a lot easier to get than it used to be. But the other thing that came around with legalization and regulation was that we've decreased the perceptions of harm associated with cannabis use, especially with heavy and frequent cannabis use. And when those perceptions of harm go down and the ability to get it, access goes up, you see use increase. And that's probably why we're at where we're at.
And CADE, your organization, talk about how you work to educate students at a college level to stay away from drug and alcohol abuse.
Absolutely. So CADE, it's the Colorado Coalition of Campus Alcohol and Drug Educators, and we're a network of college and university administrators who do prevention work on campus. And so what our organization does is provide the services and information to those campus representatives so that they're doing great work on campus. And one of the ways we do that is through a strategy called peer education, training students to have conversations with each other.
You also talk about trusted adults. What is a trusted adult?
So there are a lot of experts in the field around drug and alcohol prevention. I'm one of them, but you don't want me talking to your kids. I'm not part of their lives.
So who would a kid look at as a trusted adult? As mom?
Yeah, parents.
Oh, good.
Parents.
Okay,
good. Absolutely.
Good.
Parents. Family, but also like coaches, faith leaders, faculty, staff. These people can all be trusted adults. It's people who are in the lives of these children, not experts like me who they don't have anything to do with.
But a peer educator may be able to reach a student at a perfect time.
Yeah, exactly, right? So even though trusted adults exist, we're not going to be out there in bars when students are making decisions.
Yes.
Peers will be. And so that's why peer education is such a strong methodology for colleges and universities to consider.
Tell me more about peer educators, what you do.
Yeah, so peer educators get specific training so that when they are having conversations with fellow students, they're ready to help them move forward on behavioral change and make the right decisions. And a lot of the strategies that peer educators use or any trusted adult use are available on the Speak Now website.
Nice. Okay, and you can go to speaknowcolorado.org. That's speaknowcolorado.org. The peer educators, what have they told you with research-wise, and what are they hearing from teens?
Yeah, so one of the things that we get reported back to us the most is that it just seems like everybody's using marijuana all the time. And we know from data that actually most college students are making really healthy and responsible choices. So while we've got daily use that's increased, it's still not the majority. Most people are making good decisions. But the problem is that when that perception gets outside of alignment, when people are perceiving that it's happening more, that reality will become what the perception was. And so
you're kidding.
We want to sort of get ahead of that, get upstream of that.
So they're kind of thinking, well, if everybody else is doing it, I might as well do it. When that's not real data.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay, what other issues or problems should we address?
Yeah, so CADE takes a look by prevalence. The top 3 topics that we would want folks to have conversations about are alcohol, cannabis, and then for college students in particular, prescription stimulant medications, ADHD or ADD medications. These are the substances which we see used the most and cause the most problem associated with somebody's academic success.
So ADHD medicine, are they using it when they don't need to, just so they can stay up all night?
Yep.
All right.
And so what we hear from students is that they want to use it so that they can study better. It's a really altruistic reason to use the substance, but when we actually track students' utilization of it, they're actually using it so they can stay up late and be more social, be at a party or be at an event.
Naughty. That's
I
not
know.
good. So give me a tip on how I can address that.
Yeah. So the first thing to do is to make sure that it's part of your strategy on having your conversation with your kids. To set aside some time or to use some time that you've already got available to you to have a conversation with somebody who's heading to college. That might be on the drive up there, that might be packing for college, that might be moving them into their residence hall. But you've really got to pick a time to do it. The second strategy I'd tell you about is you've got to be honest and you've got to be open. And we've got to get away from saying this is going to kill you, this is going to be the end of your life, because most students won't have that as their first experience trying out a drug or alcohol, and that makes us unreliable. So be honest, and one of the great things about the Speak Now Colorado website is that it offers these evidence-based strategies for parents just like you to have conversations and get away from those scare tactics.
Thank you for coming on the show today.
Yeah,
this is
absolutely.
really valuable information. And again, the time to talk with your college-bound kids about the dangers of drugs and alcohol is now. For resources, support, and tips that can help get the conversation started, please go to this website. Go to speaknowcolorado.org.